out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek, here discussing all things pest. We want to remind our audience to join in on the revolution. That's right, join in on the conversation, be part of the society. Pest Geek Podcast Listeners Group on Facebook. And we're on YouTube. We're on the web, pestgeekpodcast.com. Check out there the notes, everything that we put into the podcast. They're all on there. And now for today's topic. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Hey, I've got a very special guest on the phone today, Eric Palomer of 7 and 6 Consulting. Hey, Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, it's just another day in paradise. How about yourself?
Doing good, bro. How is the temperature down there?
You know, it's not all that bad. It's still, we get close to freezing and to freezing in the evening, but
right.
You know, there's no snow on the ground, so a little colder than you, but not bad.
Yeah, no, we're still in the 80s here, man.
Yeah, a little colder than you, not bad though.
Yeah, no, I've been. My wife she's never seen snow, and I said, we got to go see snow, but we're like, where the heck is there snow that's not, 2,000 miles away, and we're trying to figure out, waiting for snow to hit probably in late January or February so we can make a trip and she can see snow. But yeah, she's never actually seen snow. And yeah, I said, you're going to go out there 5 minutes and you're going to be back into the hotel and say, that's it, I'm done.
Well, and that's the thing. It's nice to look at snow from a nice warm room with hot cocoa. It's not nice to play in the snow, at least not for anything past, 10, 15 minutes.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. She's like, no, we go outside. It's not that, I hear it's not, she said, I hear it's not really, really cold when it's snowing. I said, yeah, you've never been in 25 degree temperatures. So
yeah,
she's in for a rude awakening.
The one thing I'll grant your wife on that one is if you have, your waterproof ski attire, then it's not all that bad. But man, oh man, you get these people who've never been out in the snow, and they'll go out in a sweater, a jacket, and jeans, and then that snow starts melting right on their jeans, and they get too cold too quick. Yeah,
what I do is I give her the movie. You remember the movie The Christmas Story?
Mm-hmm.
With a little kid, he's got these clothes and he falls in the snow because he's got so many clothes on and he can't get up. And I said, that's what you're going to look like when you go to the snow for the first time. I hope you enjoy that. So I'm trying to paint a picture here, trying to talk her out of it because, it's going to cost me $2,000 to fly anywhere and go see snow for 15 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go through that because I lived in the Midwest, so I'm very familiar with snow. I lived there for 6 years, and I'm very, very. And then I lived in Jersey too, so I'm very familiar. I still remember my childhood winters in Jersey, so I'm very, very familiar. But she's actually never. I mean, she's wearing boots when it gets to like 65. They're like breaking out the winter boots, the Uggs, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But anyway, that's another project there. So how's everything else though? How's business?
No, everything is going good. Again, with it not being snow on the ground, we're still getting, calls always slow down in the winter.
Right.
But this year, and I can't really recall, I know it's been a weird weather year for everybody. Over here in the desert Southwest, we had a really long and wet spring, which everyone thought that meant that we were going to have this huge termite season, huge swarm season. And we did have a good season, but nowhere near as big as everyone thought we were going to have with the amount of rain we had.
Wow.
So that was that was a little weird. Then our summer, we were 10 degrees lower than our average. So it was actually pretty nice for my guys. I don't know if it really gets that hot. Sorry. I don't know if it really gets that hot for you guys or if the humidity helps at all, but I'll buy cooling vests for all of my technicians.
That's interesting. Yeah, because for us, it gets really, what kills us here is really the humidity. We don't get the really extreme temperatures. I mean, it gets up to, that 95 to 99 where it feels like, 100 to 105 kind of deal, 104. It's the humidity that messes with us because we sweat profusely with the humidity. Where if it's drier, and like I've been out to Oklahoma and California where it's drier, in Oklahoma, I was there and the temperature was like 105 degrees and I wasn't sweating. And it was like very little humidity. So it all depends, I guess. It's really weird what part of the country you're in, how you handle the balance of temperature and humidity. Here, you just got to drink water constantly because you just dehydrate. That's it. That's the major problem.
That's getting that my alarm went off, so that kind of took my thought process. But usually, my guys and I, we will live during the summer months. We live in our cooling vests just to keep it manageable. Because especially when you're servicing warehouses or any type of commercial property where it's just surrounded by asphalt, that midday summer sun is just absorbed into that asphalt. And if you're not wearing actually a good fit, or if you're just buying some Walmart cheapies because you're going to get them ruined, you can actually get to the point where you can, feel significant radiant heat just in your shoes. So anyway, with it being 10 degrees cooler, I only brought out my cooling vest 2 days out of the entire year, and one of my technicians never even got it out of its case this year. So it was nice. And so it, to answer the original question on how this year has been, it's been good. It's been profitable. It's just been a real strange weather year, and all of my normal predictions of what pest is going to be most prevalent and when I need to put out a particular ad on Facebook because I know, scorpions, I know I need to put it out right now. It's just kind of thrown my marketing for a little bit of a tailspin as I'm trying to predict what the weather's doing.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because here we're like all year long, man. We slow down a bit as far as the change in the stuff because we hear it's mostly for us. It's lawn and ornamental, and people are really, really picky about their lawns, the ones that do hire us. And this is the time of year now where we deal with fungus. You would think in the summer, no, this is the time of year where fungus drives us nuts. It's been raining nonstop for like 2 weeks. So we've gotten, we normally get maybe an inch, half an inch to an inch of rain during December. We had 3 inches last month, and we are probably going to have another 3 to 4 inches this month. And that overcast, with the cooled, it drops 20 degrees, and then it's raining all the time. So we went from being in the upper 80s into the, 60s to 70s at night, and that stuff just throws us for a loop. Everything starts getting fungus. We're out there going insane, just, people calling. I got spots on my lawn. I got spots on my plants. Everything is getting spots. It's the way it is for us. And then, ants are year long. I mean, we don't get a break on that. Our species are established. We don't get a break all year long. German roaches, we don't get a break. So we pretty much, our termite, since I don't do termite for me is not a big, and, the termite season, pretty much people are calling all the time because they do tenting here. They do basically, we got drywood termite. So that's pretty much it. You're tenting still all year long because people still find, damage all year long. It isn't just the swarm season that people worry about. So this is almost the tropics down here. I mean, we're pretty close to the tropics. We're probably maybe 50 miles, I think, from the tropics. So that's us for down here.
Groovy.
Yeah, so it's nice to see all the different things around the country from different places, people having to deal with different things all year long. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And that's I was actually discussing it with one of my clients on the consulting end who owns a pest control company. And this individual is on Pet Cemetery. And I know you've seen these as well, where somebody asks, how do I get rid of German cockroaches? How do I take care of Argentine ants? How do I, deal with forward flies or some, whatever the pest is? And you'll have a couple of guys who give a good, suggestion, but it's a suggestion that is tailored for their type of clientele, whether they're dealing with affluent clientele, middle America, hardworking blue-collar clients, or more of the Section 8, coupon cooking client. So they'll tailor the service depending on their clientele. They'll tailor their answer depending on the climate, just all their geographical information. And then they get offended. They get angry when you don't, fall right in on their type of service. Well, no, this is the way you get rid of German cockroaches. So, okay. So you're telling me about my best example or my favorite example. I come from an Ecolab background. Ecolab, when they're dealing with their commercial kitchens with German cockroaches, their main application strategy is micro-injection with an Axisol.
Yeah.
And going and just flushing everything out. And so that's the way I learned. And I still, even with residential clients, I like that methodology because I market it as German elimination rather than German cockroach control. By the time I leave, 99% of your cockroaches will be dead, but there is, part of the service is to have a cleaning crew come in after our service and actually use Clorox wipes and wipe everything down because it absolutely is a lot of interior insecticidal exposure when you're flushing out a kitchen. Now, I'm not debating that point at all. There's a lot of exposure, so you got to be careful to clean. And then you got people like Daniel Dye, who does not get offended. But, he'll come on and say, well, no, you really do need to, you can do a really good baiting with a little bit of IGR, and you should be able to nip right in the bud. And then you have that guy right in the middle. No, you have to do it my way with this chemical.
Right.
Give me a break, guy. It's okay. It's okay. We live in different climates. We're dealing with different clientele. Give a suggestion, but you don't need to get offended if I don't follow you or someone else doesn't follow you. All that matters.
Yeah. People get really, they get really close to their chemical. I've done it. Yeah. I've done it all three ways. I to this day, even we use a lot of flushing, but we don't use pyrethrin. We don't use chemical. We use air and vacuum, and we do the IGR, and we do the baiting. And there's some times where we've had to use because the client is demanding an instant knockdown. Yeah, and you're right. You're in a restaurant situation. They're closed down. You can't wait 30 days for opening because they're closed. I mean, the health department shut them down. And you need to, when that inspector comes back in a day or two, when he tells you he's going to come back in, you're not opening until he says, I haven't found a live cockroach. So yeah, it's situational. It's since I deal primarily with residential and we're dealing with minor infestations, we're not dealing with the urban, public housing issue. A lot of the time, which we do that too. It's situational. So you have to determine, which one is going to work. And, people who we use Niban all year long. Not here in South Florida. You couldn't control the 7 tramp ant species that we have down here. We have probably more ants. We have more ants fauna than any place in the United States. We have over 200 species of ants in Florida. We have over 50 that are exotic. And 7 of those are, common, established ants in our homes. So you might deal with one neighborhood, 2 blocks down, you're dealing with this specific ant, and another neighborhood you're dealing with 4 ants. There's no way you're going to control it with one type of application or even a quarterly service, where people are doing quarterly service in northern Florida. Well, you do get some type of overwintering. Not in South Florida. We're almost in the tropics. We're the most unique ecosystem in the whole entire United States, including the islands and in the Pacific. It's very, very unique to do pest control in Florida. So, everybody wants to come down to Florida. So all the pests do too.
Well, so I just want to make sure I heard you say something, or make sure I heard you correctly. Are you saying that to be an actual pest management professional, you need to have a variety of treatment options available to you, and to be able to customize those treatments to what you find at an individual client?
Exactly. That's what we do. We're completely we're biology based, depending on what we find in that home.
And that's why I just think it's funny that some guys get so locked in to the way they like to do things. Right. I think you hit the nail right on the head. At the end of the day, if we as pest management professionals are ever gonna break that stereotype that, well, if you're a bug guy, that just means you're a high school dropout with a beer belly. You couldn't get a real job, so you're just going to slap some chemical around someone's home.
I know. That drives me nuts to hear that. Even from our clients, it's like, when somebody tells me, oh, it doesn't matter, just give me the price. You guys are all the same. I almost want to reach through the phone. I get highly insulted.
But see, even just having those casual conversations of what IPM is. Now, I don't know about you.
Yep.
For me, I actually launched an IPM marketing campaign a few years back. It got 0 traction.
Yes.
Nobody in my demographic could care less. But what I took all the same verbiage, and it's the same. It is an IPM program, but I retitled it "Personalize Your Pest Control," and all of a sudden, because now it didn't sound so scientific, it was easily understandable. Oh, okay, they're going to tailor the service to my needs. They're going to personalize the pest control service.
Right.
Having those little casual conversations of, hey, we're going to tailor the services. Hey, we need to do an inspection first. I don't know about you, but with the people that are between the ages of 35 and 45, they get it. They get IPM even if they don't know what IPM is. The people I struggle with are those 65 and older who remember the Dursban days, the Melathion days. And, I actually still do get phone calls. I just want you to come over and nuke my property. Well, you're not looking for me if you're looking for someone who, if you want your property nuked. I don't just pour chemical on your house. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. No, it's I get a lot of that. You're right. From the older folks. I mean, understand, they some of these guys are alive still were at, they were still adults when DDT was banned, in the 70s.
Yeah.
So they're used to the spray everything, and if you spray it on the floor, the roach on the ceiling falls off. And they're thinking that all those products are still around. And, my favorite is, hey, I want the strongest that you have. It's like, strong isn't the category. So you have to do a ton more of educating, I think, with the older folks, you're right, than with the millennials who are having children because they don't want the pesticide in their home. I mean, they're telling you like, no, I just had a child, I have a pest. I used to have this service with this company, and now I'm looking for an eco-friendly service because I had a child. So before it didn't matter, now it does. And I think that's going to be the trend. I mean, that's going to be as we get the new iGeners having children, which they're going to be starting probably in the next 10 years, having home and children. A lot of the old stuff that used to be done is going to be gone, and a lot of the guys who are still holding on to it, they're gonna be hurting when they don't want to change because, well, they're going to be probably mostly retired and living in Florida anyway, and we'll be doing their pest control.
But the interesting thing is, these evolutions within the industry, I actually look at it as a very good thing for us.
Oh, yeah.
When my grandfather was doing pest control, you came home and you reeked of PDOs. I don't smell when I go, back from a service. Microencapsulates don't smell. I don't have that kind of issue.
Right.
The PPE requirements. Now, okay, side note, yes, I am one of the PPE police guys, but I just try to keep it to myself and my guys. But the PPE requirements from, the 1970s to today are dramatically declining.
Right.
And while, yes, I can see an argument to be made that Dursban and the Lithion had a nice broad label that just killed the living shnikes out of everything, when I talk to some of those technicians, I say, listen, do you want one product that does all, or let's rephrase it, if you had one product that solved every mechanical problem in a car, would you seek out a specialist to work on your carburetor or, your inline six or whatever? Well, no, I wouldn't. Say, okay, exactly. So would the price for your service, if there was one tool that fixed everything, would the price of that mechanical service, would that decline? Yes. Okay. It's the same thing with pest control. If you really want to be a professional, you need to learn to specialize in a specific set of skills. And with pest control, the first skill you need to specialize in is how to do a thorough inspection. From there, with the different type, with baits, with the granules, with the dusts, with the dry flowables, with the aerosols, with everything we have, all of the different tools, the heating equipment, the fume, all of the different tools. If you can first master the specialized skill of inspection, then everything else falls in line. And then you can decide, you know what? I want to specialize in German roaches in commercial kitchens. I want to specialize in dry woods for log cabins in the mountains. I want to specialize for bed bugs, in the Motel 6. But the first skill to specialize, and, leading back to that conversation of, that consistent education to just beat that stereotype of a high school, beer belly dropout, as more people within our generation, you and I, as more people within our generation continue to embrace the IPM mentality, and more importantly, communicate the IPM mentality, whether we use the word IPM or some other, flashy phrase,
right?
We're going to see our industry rise from that high school dropout to a legitimate profession. And I actually do think, whatever your opinions are of some of the bigger pest control companies, the one good thing that I will say is those larger national companies, even when they make stupid mistakes, do an overall good job of professionalizing the profession.
Right. Yeah, they've got the marketing dollars to brand it, and people with one of the largest ones in the country, when they penetrate, they own 20% of that market. I mean, that is a lot of influence that they have in a marketplace. And so, looking at, I mean, I've been dealing, you and I you've probably been in this longer. You're probably, you're probably, second generation, third generation pest control. I'm, I'm first generation, and I look at the marketing of what they've tried to do. Legislation can't do it, and the academia can't do it because they don't have the marketing mentality to make. I mean, if we would have wanted, we've been talking about IPM, since the 30s, integrated chemical management, and that's been talked about to death, yet nobody still understands what IPM is. So you've got terms like natural and organic and now being thrown around, and then you have holistic. What the heck is it? And we can't really put our finger on it to be able to market it in a way that the term of what's being branded as a term for a next generation is understandable. Because even if you ask 100 professionals in a room, what is IPM? Nobody can tell you. That's a scary part, is that nobody can tell you. There's even a compendium of what integrated pest management means. You've got over 100 terms of what it means.
Yeah.
So now we're entering into this, how do we market to a next generation? And what they want is the eco-friendly. So, that's one of the things that, now what does that mean? Well, then everybody gets offended in the industry saying, yeah, well, you're going to use mint oil to solve everything. I said, no, that's not what it means. It's about being responsible. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you apply it to label directions, you're being responsible. You got all this conversation going where, we don't have I look at we've had this discussion with another brother that I'm having where I'm ready to do a podcast on that, as far as the association, which is the one that represents the industry, really still doesn't have an agreement of what it is, even with their Quali Pro and everything else. That's not happening. So we're the guys out there who are trying to define themselves are going to be the guys who can best market. And you nailed it, because you changed the wording, you changed this. How do you define? You're going to have to put your pulse on what the market wants and figure out how to market to them, because that's the only way you're going to be able to differentiate your brand. Pest control by itself in the mind of the customer is a commodity. And I've said this before, and people will disagree because everybody thinks they got such a great thing, but it's a commodity. I mean, in the mind of the customer, brand is going to be the only thing that's going to differentiate you. What's going to be your unique selling proposition to put your, finger on the pulse of that market and say, what does the market want and how do we deliver it?
Exactly. And, so 100% absolutely agree. And that then falls again, at least in my brain, back to that treatment conversation that we were having earlier, that you'll see people ask a question and the answers are specific to the author themselves. Well, if you really want more customers, you need to do pay-per-click. Well, if you want new customers, you need to talk about organics. Well, if you want new customers, which is true, I firmly believe that's true for the person who's authoring it. Somebody had a really good luck with pay-per-clicks, and it's working well for them. Another person's having really good luck with organics and actually marketing 25Bs. And that's working for them. But when we're discussing as an industry or on a peer-to-peer basis, realizing that, again, there are different micro economies, even, and I'm sure it's this way with you too. In your service area, there are going to be some neighborhoods where you're going to be able to have a more affluent style message. You can sell the lifestyle of bug-free. There are other neighborhoods that are a little bit more socioeconomically repressed, and you may find that putting out ads in that area that are far more transactional rather than relational in base are more productive. So you're absolutely right. We in the pest management industry, we the owners, we the entrepreneurs, need to, yes, go on to the different pest control networking sites and network with one another. Yes, we need to listen to the podcasts and increase our knowledge. Yes, we need to consume the textbooks and trade publications, but we also need to take personal responsibility for our own success and start split testing our own marketing and seeing, well, okay, if I call it IPM, what kind of responses do I get? If I call it organic, what kind of responses do I get? When I call it prescription-based pest control, what type of responses do I get? And in my case, when I've used the word prescription-based as well, prescription-based pest control for me works very, very well when I send out advertisements to chiropractors, to dental practices, to outpatient clinics, to dental practices, to a more medicinal based industries. When I term it prescription-based pest control or prescription-based pest management, I get pretty darn good results, or I get better results than any other phrase. But when I'm dealing with the middle America housewife, college-educated, annual household income of $150,000, I do get better results out of calling it personalized pest control. It's still IPM, it's still the same process, but it's knowing how to package it, like you said earlier, to give the customer what they want.
Yeah, let's go because you mentioned a couple of things that most guys who don't do marketing, or who haven't been involved in marketing, don't get. And you mentioned A/B split testing, and you mentioned that in itself is an art and a science, because you can't just test two ads. You A/B split testing. Most people were like, I did the Facebook ads and it sucked. It didn't work. I did the direct mail and it didn't work. I did this and it didn't work. The problem is you did it your way, you did it one way, and you did it one time. Because you got to have a stomach for failure in marketing if you're going to be successful at it, because you're going to fail at it a lot until you figure out what actually works. And a lot of the things that we're asking, what we're selling, is we keep selling the features, which nobody cares about. And then we also are marketing, instead of understanding the message, we're looking at the media. In other words, we're judging the marketing based on the media, and we don't have a clue about the message, and the message isn't engaging. So you're like, okay, what works best? You notice all the questions in the groups. What works best? Is it Facebook? Is it direct mail? Is it this? Is it that? It all works. The question is, do you know how to work it?
Yep. And who it works for.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Who's the end consumer of your? I mean, if you're in a media, if you're on Facebook and you're trying to target 90-year-olds, that's not where they're hanging out. You need to start going to to the geriatric clinics to target them. They're not there. But A/B split testing, man. I mean, when I A/B split test stuff, I might have to do 10 ads and see which one converted better, and that's a lot of expense for a lot of people to go through. They don't have the stomach for that expense, because they're expecting if I put an ad out, I should get at least break even, which I don't know where everybody gets that number from, because it doesn't really exist. That I broke even on an ad. That's what you hope. That's what everybody.
You want to know?
That is what everybody hopes for, but it doesn't happen.
I know, but you want to know where that thought comes from? That thought comes from a misunderstanding of marketing versus sales.
Yeah.
When you're marketing, the purpose of marketing is to lead people to a sale. A marketing piece, if you're doing just a Facebook ad for branding purposes, you were just talking about messaging, you need to realize the end purpose may not be a direct sale. The way you're going to phrase even the exact same message. So, hey, we've got we just did a termite treatment for Susie down the road. You're going to phrase, if you're doing a Facebook ad that is geo-mapped, termites located in your area, 3 top signs that you need to look for. If you have any questions, call ABC Pest Control right now. We were just in your neighborhood. We'll give you 50% off or whatever. That's a marketing message.
Yeah.
But if you've got your door-to-door sales team, hey, we were just at Susie Johnson's. We had drywoods. We had to rip out a part of their mantle. Really big deal. Because we're already in the area, we are doing complimentary inspections, 50% off inspections, whatever. If you are interested right now while our team is still here. That's a sales activity. In sales activities, if you choose the right marketing message, choose the right medium, and hit it hard, you should at least break even. But with marketing, and like you said, it's going to take quite a bit of split testing. You're going to have to fail and fall on your face several times to then, find your way to the right marketing message and the right marketing medium. And even when you find it, even when you find the message and the medium that is kicking ass, you may find out that, well, okay, now that marketing has passed us by. I used to love marketing in gated community magazines. It made me money. 15 years ago, that made me money.
Yeah.
I do not spend a nickel on magazine articles anymore.
And not in my town, especially in Miami. I mean, it's too busy. People don't even read it. We put ads in there. We never got. I mean, we got called. I remember one time an old lady called me like a year after we had placed the ad. I said, "No, I'm looking at your ad in this magazine," and I'm like, "What magazine?" "No, in this magazine that you advertised in." I says, "We don't advertise in any magazine." And she said, "Yeah, here's the ad." Oh my God, that was a year ago, and she was calling me on that ad. That the only person that ever called me. From that ad.
Oh man!
A year later, when I told her the price, I thought she had a heart attack, and I was going to call 911 on the phone for what we charge because they were looking for something really really cheap, and so so that didn't happen. So yeah, man, it's one of those things where what works, most of it works, still works, but you've got to really. You got to hone in on that message, and you got to really connect, and that takes skill, that takes experience, that takes, making mistakes, that takes figuring out. It's kind of like how do you decide what a good ad should look like? I said I find the guy who's actually making money doing ads, and then I knock it off, because the good artists, a good artist copy, but great artists steal. So find an ad that it's converting, and even if you don't like it. Do that, because a lot of people also have this issue. Oh, these big companies are doing it, and look at their ads, and they're giving away this and that. I said the reason they're doing that is because it works. They wouldn't be spending all that money on those ads the way they're doing it if the ad didn't work, and you're arguing with the ad. You're having a conniption about how they're doing it, and it's like it's working. That's why they do it. So I don't overthink it too much.
Yeah, well. And I was just having this conversation with one of my older clients through the consulting company. This was a client that we'd worked with I'd worked with several months ago, well, over a year ago. And this individual came from a social media marketing background. They got their bachelor's degree in mass communication. They'd worked at 3 different ad agencies, regional ad agencies, running social media marketing departments. And the individual decided to branch out, did something different, started their own company, and that's what got this individual and I connected. But what was interesting is, during our sessions, we would work through the material that we needed to work through for her benefit. And, I always leave time at the end of every session to, hey, if you just want to, it's open forum, whatever you want to chat about. If you want to talk about what we'd already talked about, if you want to bring something new up, whatever. And she would always feed these little tidbits and would come over and say, yeah, I was on your company Facebook page, and that's not the right way to do it. And that was always her favorite phrase. That's not the right way to do it. And I just kind of giggled, and I took no offense to it. I had closed a $60,000 account off of one of the Facebook ads that she said, I didn't do it right. The color scheme wasn't right. I didn't have the company logo on it. I said, I know. There was a purpose behind the way I did it, and it closed a $60,000 client because I did it that way. So it is interesting. You said every medium works. Every medium with the right message and the right focus will work. And it's frankly not always, you and I are saying the same thing. You've got to split test it for yourself. Yes, look at the professionals, look at the big companies that have done the market research and look at what they're doing. But at the very end of the day, you need to personalize it to your particular clientele and what works well for you. This particular ad had very little to do with consulting at all. It was very touchy-feely, very emotional. But I tell you what, it got 10x the exposure, the shares, the likes, and the engagement than some of the more analytical posts got. And again, that touchy-feely post was the one that was converting large clients, larger items.
But it's a very simple methodology. People make decisions on their emotions. They justify their decision with logic, but they make all of their decisions with emotions. Nobody sits there. A guy tells me, I get a customer who will negotiate $50, on an initial service that's $350, and then he will go out that afternoon and go spend $5,000 on golf clubs.
Yep.
And you totally like, it makes no sense. He's totally irrational. No, people buy what they want, and they don't like to spend money on what they don't want. So in this, he needs pest control. He doesn't want pest control. That's the mentality. So you got to sell. The best advice I ever got in sales was from my sales manager. He says, Frank, if you want to make sales, you have to appeal to their larceny. That was his line to me. You have to appeal to their larceny. And too many people have too many issues with the way marketing has to be, where they would they're marketing the way they wish somebody would market to them, and then they realize it doesn't work. Because the world isn't you. You got to market to people the way they want to be marketed to, and you got to figure that out. And a lot of the stuff that has to be done, a lot of people just don't have the stomach for it, and they don't get it. So I always look at it this way. It's mission, message, and then media. That's the way I look at the marketing approach, is what's the mission, what's the message, and then finally, what's the media? Everybody wants to start at what's the media first. Go back, reverse engineer everything that you think you know, and then usually you get the right answer. That's usually how it works for me. I work backwards.
Well, and that's not even working backwards. That's the way everyone who actually is mission-orientated knows they need to work. I come from a military background, military family. I'm the seventh generation. You don't start with, okay, how many machine gunners do you have? You start with, what is the mission objectives? What are you trying to achieve? Well, okay, now that you know what you're going to try to achieve, what's the topography? What's the terrain? What's the enemy forces? What's your intel? Okay, now that you know that, now you prescribe the treatment. Now you figure out how many fire teams you need. Do you need air support? Do you need artillery to back you up? Whether it's creating your, we're getting into 2020 now, whether it's creating your annual goals, whether it's creating a marketing message or an ad spend, whether it's onboarding a technician or any other employee. I think technicians and most mom and pop pest control owners are technicians. They're business owners, but they're not entrepreneurs. They're technicians. They are so busy doing what they do that they refuse or totally neglect the strategy of doing what they do. You have to sit down and ask yourself the question, like you just said, what's the mission objectives? What am I trying to achieve? Okay, now let's start creating, whether it's an onboarding package for a technician, whether it's figuring out what medium is most viewed by a particular target demographic. Whatever the case is, you have to know where you're going first. So you're not reverse engineering. You're one of the very few people who's doing it right.
What I do is I start out in the beginning of the year setting out my BHAGs, my big, hairy, audacious goals. These are the things that I need to accomplish that I haven't been able to. and I had 4 last year. And how many could I actually get done? Well, so far this year, we've been able to accomplish 2 of the 4. If I wouldn't have set those 4 goals for myself, I probably would not have accomplished 2 of them because I would have settled for 1. Now, some people may need to do 1, but in my case, I need to be able to say, okay, what could I possibly accomplish that I need to accomplish, and then set that bar really high and then start implementing the heck out of it. Because a lot of the time we talk it to death. I'm going to do. And 5 years have gone by and you haven't done a darn thing because you haven't implemented. I'm one of those guys that I figure out what I get, 50 to 60% there, and I'm implementing. I have MVPs, minimum viable products, and I start implementing. And I start working the kinks out of it as I'm implementing, not trying to perfect it in a lab, because that's what everybody wants to do. They want to get, because they're afraid they're going to look bad, and they're afraid they're going to fail, and they want to get at this 95%. So they kill it with procrastination and perfectionism. And I go 80%, I'm 60%. Let's see if we can launch this. Do the tests, run it. If we can get 80%, we're good. Then we start on that 1%, perfecting at 1% at a time, so that we can actually get it. So, right now I'm finishing up. I'm putting the final touches on the first 9 classes of the academy. That's taking me almost a year to do because I haven't finished the month yet. We're at 26% growth this year. And I haven't finished December. This is the last. I got to look at the number as of yesterday, but we were like at 26 point something percent increase over last year. And so with that kind of growth and trying to do the things I'm doing for the podcast, the academy, and the teaching that I do and all the other things, I mean, if I don't have goals that I start implementing on, I'll never get it done. It'll be like I can keep making excuses all year. And so now we're like, as of today, I will have that finished because the goal was to get it finished by the end of the year. We had a new product launch for our personal, a product that we're actually developing that I've been testing. And we wanted to go online with online sales this year. Those were the 4. With the 4th product, we're still testing it, and it won't be ready this year. So but unless you push it, and unless you put it up on that board, and unless you put a deadline on it and says, I'm going to get started on this, and then implement, because like I said, we'll talk it to death and never get it done. Implement.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how, these mom and pops can grow, but they will not work on the business. They keep insisting on working in the business. That's the biggest thing that I see with guys that I'm trying to coach and help here locally, is that they don't take the time off to sharpen the saw, to train, to retrain themselves in where they want to go. They just continue to I'm going to just keep working until I have X amount of dollars, then I can hire a guy. You'll never get there that way. That's what everybody thinks they're going to do, but it doesn't work in reality. That's a myth. It doesn't work.
Well, and more than that type of growth mentality. So on my consulting, that is one of the biggest things you and I both know in pest management, finding, hiring, training, and retaining quality employees is, other than, figuring out your marketing spend, HR is some of the biggest headaches for pest management professional entrepreneurs and business owners. And it breaks my heart because you'll get these guys that are breaking their back, working so hard to get up. Okay, once I get to $500,000, I'll be in a position to hire my first technician. When I get up to $250,000, I'll be in a position to hire my first technician. Heck, I'm willing to hire a technician at $150,000. I just need somebody.
Yeah,
and then they go through. They hit their number. They hire their guy. They have zero idea other than having them do a couple of ride-alongs, they have zero idea of how they're going to get this greenhorn who has no idea, doesn't even know what a 25B is and how that's different from synthetics, and has no idea how they're going to get them to a predictable profit-producing entity. Like you said, you have to take your time out. You need to sharpen your saw. You need to ask, what is the mission? My mission, I want my first technician to be able to easily invoice out $250,000 a year on a route job who understands and, more importantly, executes clover leafing, and who is willing to do 3 Facebook Lives on the job site and has a certain amount of charisma to start building a micro route. You need to know what you want rather than, well, I'm going to hire the guy and then we'll figure it out as we go. That costs way more money than taking a day going to the cabins and thinking about it.
Yeah. And it's the thing is that they keep hanging. The thing is, you keep hanging around the same people with the same complaints and and you buy into this mentality that isn't really the reality. Because I mean, if you can't grow a business, how come other people are growing? I mean, how come people are growing to $2 million in 7 years? Half of those skills are developed, half of them, are in you, but you can develop those skills to do those things. The problem is you're stuck in this mentality that it's too hard, it can't be done. I mean, hiring in itself is a full-time job almost for me. I mean, recruiting and onboarding and training, but you don't have the SOPs. You don't have the standard operating procedures. You haven't sat down to develop a system, and you're not talking to people who have developed systems to do this. You keep asking the guy who's never built it to tell you how to build it because, and all he can tell you is, oh, no, it's too depressing. It's too hard. Employees are a pain. You can't do it. It can't be done. The last company I was with, and everybody starts going off on these tangents. And instead of saying, who do I talk to that can actually show me to get from, that 150,000 to my first million? Who can I talk to do that? They're not asking that question. And that's the question they should be at, and then you should be ignoring everybody else. If I ever want an opinion, like I tell people, if I want your opinion, I'll squeeze it out of you. But I don't need it. I need a guy who has done the 2 million and has gotten to 4, and tell me how to get there. And that's the major thing is the groups. Like I said, the groups are great and stuff, but again, everything is which bifenthrin is the best bifenthrin to use. I mean, like I made a joke on it on my page the other day. If one more person asks me about, if bifenthrin will last 90 days, I'm going to choke them. It's like, we keep asking these 20 years you've been in and you're still asking that question. Something is seriously wrong. I think that's where, I think we're both working in the same direction. I'm doing it differently than you. I'm doing it through a podcast and through online training and through different mediums. But I want to have the people. I'm going after the 1%. I'm going after the 1% of guys that are listening to me and saying, yeah, I want to break out of the pack. I want to get out of the 99% that says you can't and be the 1% that makes it. And that's really what it is. I mean, you think it's like everybody's going to jump in on this. Nobody's going to jump in on this. I mean, it's going to take me years. There's only a certain percentage of people that want to go there, and I realize that. And I'm in that long game.
And that was, I think, one of the most impactful posts you have made, at least to me. One of the most impactful posts was the one, I'm going to paraphrase here, I'm going to give it all away. I'm going to put it all out there because there's going to be, just none of you, or there's only going to be very few of you who are actually going to do these things. And from my office, I was applauding you from St. George, Utah, because that's exactly true, especially with the internet. Everything you're putting, I would assume, and I don't mean to cause offense, everything you're putting on your e-course, I know I can find for free online. Everything I have on my e-course about business systemization, you can find online for free. There is so much in every e-course you can find for free. The benefit of e-course is it organizes it. But you and I, and every other business owner and entrepreneur, we really don't have a viable excuse. We have all of the answers just a couple of keystrokes away. The thing that we lack is we do not execute exactly on what works.
Yeah. It's that simple. I mean, I've got down my customer service, I think it's like 9 slides, my PowerPoint presentation for customer service. Very, very simple to do customer service. Everybody confuses simplicity with ease. But it's it's repetition. Yes. It's executing. I mean, my sales process, I sell everything over the phone. I've got 5, 6 questions, and I've got the same 6 problems that everybody has. Nobody has a unique problem in their home. And I've taken it down to a 6-step process where I consult, boom, 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 I quote, and I close. It's that simple. And it's all about executing. You're right. Everybody's like looking for this magic formula, this magic app, this magic thing that's going to do something for them. And the reality is you got to just be able to put in the work and execute very well. And that's it. That's what it comes down to. Is stop looking for the 100 excuses. What I'm doing with my training course is I've taken something that's 200 pages and I've taken it down to 9 PowerPoint presentations that we can teach on, that it would take you 6 years to learn, which if you waited on CEU courses to learn all this for your tech, it would take them 6 years. That's what it took me to get all this.
Oh, man.
And I got it down to something very simple that I can teach in about 6.5 hours. That's not 200 pages to read, because the average technician isn't going to read a 200-page core manual.
Oh, yeah. Some of the business owners won't do it either.
And you're not going to be able to send a guy for a 3-day course that's going to cost you $600 and $2,000 worth of production. You're not going to do it. I learned to simplify, and what's taking me a year, believe it or not, Eric, it's not the amount of volume I'm giving you. It's what's taking me a year to do is to little by little look at the UX, look at the user experience that they're going to have with this, and say, how do we simplify this? It's still too complicated. How do we simplify it? How do we give them the core of what they need to get them to think and raise more questions than they ever thought in their life, and have what they're going to need that in the first 2 or 3 weeks that could take them 12 the next 6 years to come across, based on going at 2 credit hours a year of CEUs. But it's that UX experience, like it's mobile ready. We're going to be the only platform really to teaching pest control that's actually mobile ready. You can actually study it on a phone, because nobody's going to go wait until they get home on their laptop, get it from their phone. So that's what's been taking me a year. Is it's still too complicated. How does this look? It's still too complicated. And getting it down, but hammering away at it every single day, chipping away at it, 2-3 hours a day, every single day for a year. That's how I got it done. And that's and this is why most people will never get it done, because they're not willing to go through that. Everybody talks about, well, I want a new course and I want this and I want that, but understand that I've already put 400 hours into this in a year.
Yep.
And I've been thinking about it for 2 years. So yeah, people are saying anybody can do it. Anybody can, but only the 1% will. This is the people that make the difference, they implement. It's that 1%. I will tell every one of my customers, I have a demo video of our entire process, our entire IPM process, a demo video. I will give it to my customer. And they think their husband is going to be able to pull that off. He's too lazy. He doesn't want to do it. It's too much work. I'll still close more business by giving the entire, with protocol, product, 20-minute demo that we give away to our client to educate them on IPM. And they'll still call me 10 minutes later and says, yeah, I saw the video. It's great. When do we start? Because they're not going to do it. And that's what I've learned. One of the things is I put out a post this morning. I woke up at 3:30 a.m. today. Okay, I've been up working since 3:30 a.m. And I put a post this morning, and I said, we're the generation of the know-it-alls and the know-nothings.
Yes.
We have all the information available. We know everything. We can have an intellectual conversation about everything. And yet, when it comes to doing it, I don't know what I'm going to do for a career. I don't know what I'm going to do for my business. What do you mean? You have the knowledge. But it's implementing where people fall apart. And this is the difference between the guy who can implement and the guy who simply sits there and keeps acquiring knowledge, but doesn't put any of that to work. And that's they're teaching that to my kid in karate. I thought that was the most impactful lesson that they could teach my kid. The instructor says, just stands there every week and it says, it's not what you know, it's what you do. That's it. That's the message.
Yeah.
Every
and
week.
You and I are saying the same. Yeah, you and I are saying the same thing. You have your way, and I always say, it's execute, execute, execute.
Yeah.
But exactly. We have the information. We really have no excuse. The only thing is people are not going out and actually doing it, and more importantly than doing it consistently. Because again, looping back around to marketing, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fall, you're gonna face plant, and it's being willing, having the internal faith, the internal fortitude, and the resilience of mind to stand up and say, well, that sucked. Okay, what did we learn from that? Yeah. We learned that X, Y, and Z doesn't work. Okay, now how are we going to fix it, and how are we going to keep going forward? So kudos to you, man.
Yeah,
kudos
no, bro.
To you.
It's fail fast. I mean, that's one of the things that I had to learn early on is fail fast. And most people are afraid to fail, and much less fail fast. They think if they failed fast, that there was a flaw in their thinking. To me, I just know now something that I needed to know, so I don't keep working on it and move on. And that's that's it, brother. So, let me ask you a question. What because you I know you're doing consulting. I saw for a while that you've been doing consulting. What kind of consulting are you doing?
It's business systemization. So creating the systems and processes to systematically work your way out of the business. My 3 businesses all run pretty well independently of me. I like to travel. I don't want to be around. I don't want to say this. I don't want to live at my job. Right. And again, you know it. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You know that one of the biggest issues pest management professionals have on the owner standpoint is that they are owners. They're not entrepreneurs. Right. They don't systemize. So that's what we do. And in 2020, I'll be launching a new online course specifically tailored to pest management professionals and just give them the information they need to be able to systemize within their businesses. And like you just said, show them everything, show them exactly how to do it. And then when those that really, really, really want to do it, they will. They'll have all the information. Yeah. And others will say, hey, that's great. I want that, but I'm not willing to do it. I'll pay you to do it. Right. So that's what we do at 7 and 6.
Good. All right. So yeah, because I know I saw you did it. You started that, and I followed you on that for about a year. I saw what you were doing, and we were having another conversation. I think we're going to have that one for another day. The whole issue of which I brought up another question about giving stuff away and how you've set up, I believe a 501(c)(3) for that kind of for dealing with
charity accounts.
Yeah, charity accounts and for a business. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. So we were discussing that too. A couple of things we've discussed for a while. We discussed Profit First. That's a great book, by the way. Yeah. I mean, that one everybody needs to read that book. And we discussed that. So I think you're gonna have to come back, bro, and we're gonna have another discussion on some of these issues. So that we can kind of talk to people about it, because I think you got some great ideas and stuff that I've been thinking about for a while, and I just, man, how would I do that? And I think that was great. Well, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, for consulting or for whatever it is that you're doing there, how do they get a hold of you?
The easiest way is just to jump on to Facebook.com/7and6 Consulting. Okay. No matter where I go, I've got my cell phone with me. So the fastest way to get a hold of me is right via the Facebook page.
Excellent. Yeah. So and you're what? You're in Utah, right? You're in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful southern Utah.
All right. So cool. Yeah, man. I mean, we were looking at we're getting hit with some ads now. I forgot which city it is in Utah that they're promoting right now as America's, winter city or something like that. I forgot which one it is. My wife's been like,
best snow on the earth.
Yeah, no, it has another one. It has another name, a little town, and they're doing some. I get it on Hulu. When we're watching Hulu, we get hit with those ads like 17 times. And my wife's, that'd be so great to go see the snow. Going back to that again. And so that's where she keeps getting that, because we keep hammered with ads, dude, on Utah. So I said, yeah, that may be great. It's just a couple thousand miles from us, but I like to get something closer than that. But who knows? Well, what we're going to do.
If you're ever out in the area, give me a holler and we'll go to lunch.
Yeah, man. That'd be great. So, yeah. So anything else you want to tell the audience before we split? And, or, anything
The only thing is just beating this dead horse. At the end of the day, you have all access to all information. You live in a blessed generation. You have access to more content, more information than anybody in human history. Find what you want to increase in your business. Find what you want to improve in your personal life, and execute. Just frickin' do it.
Yep.
Even if you fail, just frickin' do it.
Yeah. I think that's it, man. You nailed it. I'm speechless. I got nothing else to say.
Well, I appreciate the time, and we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, man. Let's get some stuff together. And I had no idea what you were going to talk about, but I think the conversation was great. I enjoyed it. I mean, probably one of the more fruitful conversations I've had all year. So, yeah, brother. I mean, between me talking to myself and I don't get to talk to a whole lot of people, that, it's very tough. I mean, it really is to find people that inspire you. Most of the time I'm doing the inspiring for a lot of people that are calling me, and they're beat up and they're hurt, and there's a lot of people in this industry, and a lot of every industry and every business that are hurting. And, how do we keep it together and do all the things that we do in the family. And so a lot of the times I'm doing more ministry work than I am doing sales consulting work. But yeah, man, it is. We need to have more of these conversations, which is, they're very enjoyable. And I appreciate you coming on and taking the time. I know it's New Year's Eve and you've got your stuff to do and all that. So I do appreciate you being on, Eric.
Absolutely. You have yourself a very happy New Year.
You do the same, my friend. And I should be able to get this podcast probably. Let's see if we can. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we make this the 31st? Today I'm going to get it out today. I'm going to do that. I'm going to work on it and get this thing produced and get it out before the new year, so people will have their planning strategy for the new year. How about that?
Groovy. Sounds like a plan.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Have a great one and have a great new year.
You as well. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, buddy. Take care. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Until next time, have a pestacular day.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.